Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Aries, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of July 2023. I hope you're well. I'm using the Night Sun Tarot for you today. And just before we begin, if the reading resonates with you and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That's the first link in the description box. The second link in the description box is to my private community, the Order of the Phoenix, which is over on the Circle platform. It's chock full of absolutely astounding people. Very talented people too, and you can get access to all the extended content for no extra cost. So if that's something that sounds of interest to you, you know what to do with that link. Right, Night Sun Tarot, big things, Aries, and I'm not really surprised. I did, before I start any reading, I do a short meditation to connect with the energy of whichever sign I'm reading for, and it was quite intense for you. I didn't see anything, but what I felt was like being pulled up by my crown chakra, like to stand up straight, and that feels very, very welcome in the connection with your energy. And this month we do have the lunar nodes moving from Taurus and Scorpio into Aries and Libra, and if that doesn't give you a kick up the arse, Aries, I don't know what will. So let's get some cards out and see what's going on with you. Have 3 cards for Aries, please. There's the first one. We have the Six of Wands in your recent past. I'll just flip that around, make sure I'm pressing the right button. There. What about current energy for Aries, please? Wow, I'm pinged across. We have the Five of Pentacles. Don't panic about that because it actually feels quite good to me. And what about what's coming towards Aries, please? Thank you. We have the Queen of Cups. Amazing. We have the Magician at the bottom of the deck, and that's very much in alignment with how I'm feeling your energy starting to pulse now, Aries. Let's just get some clarifying deck. Oh, it is. We're going to go with the World Unknown to clarify. The Magician is the card of, well, I feel it specifically to be Gemini, honestly, but it does correspond to Virgo as well. Not that I feel like either of those facts are particularly relevant at this point, because it's very much about the energetic presentation of the Magician. Now, you know, we have spoken at length over the last year about how it has seemed that Aries was suffering from a really drawn out, protracted tower moment. And when we're in the middle of those tower moments, it's very, very difficult to see the fucking point of it, frankly. It's only on reflection, in retrospect, that things start to become clear. Now, the energy has shifted for you. It shifted a couple of months ago, and that's been very, very welcome. But now I think we're getting to the point where we can start to see the purpose of the things being pulled away from us that have been. It's always about the creation of space, right? But it's definitely about the challenging of your reality in some way or another, right? So, you know, I just mentioned that the lunar nodes are moving from Taurus and Scorpio into Aries and Libra. So what we have there is the completion of an 18-year cycle. Right? The last time that the nodes were in your sign was back 2004 to 2006 kind of time. And so, you know, maybe thinking about where you were at that time would be a useful thing to do, because you've had a whole 18 years. This cycle is coming to an end and you are right on the cusp of something new. And what we want to do is take everything that you learned in this past 18 years and start afresh, right? Full energy for sure. But in the first instance, I think you have to know what it is that you want to manifest. And the fact that the Six of Wands is here, I do think is giving you some sort of indication. I'm not going to say any more because I'm going to clatter on otherwise. And I'd like to get these clarifiers out first. Tell me about the Six of Wands. Four of Wands. Beautiful. There we go. That Four of Cups has been stalking you around, hasn't it? Tell me about the Five of Pentacles. Ace of Cups, incredible. Five of Pentacles. Thank you. This, Aries, this is astounding. And going exactly the way that I thought it was. Tell me about the Queen of Cups. We have the Eight of Cups down there. Strength card, absolutely astounding. And the Ace of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. I mean, really, could this get any better? I think not, Aries. So let's just put these where you can actually see them properly. I really like this. It feels to me like the fire is starting to flow again. I think for some of you, even though the energy had shifted and there was this sense that perhaps the Tower moment was winding down, there's almost been a fear of returning to your old connection with the fire, right? The passion, the inspiration, the drive, sort of like once bitten, twice shy and all that sort of thing, right? This last year or so has really kicked the stuffing out of you. And for a lot of you, I'd imagine that will have resulted in a humbling in some way, right? And I recognise the situation because I have been in the same, not well, I recently actually, fucking all the time actually. Whenever there's one of these moments going on, we do return to ourselves, but we come back a little humbler, a little wiser, maybe a little tattier around the ears, right? But sometimes there can be this resistance because it's like, well, if I move, if I do anything, then I might rattle the tower off again. I might start something else because last time I kind of blundered into it in a state of complacency and I don't want to do that anymore. So we tend to be a little bit more guarded about our movements in the aftermath of it. But I really do feel like you can relax into being this older, wiser version of yourself. You know, you've got a few battle scars, but the wisdom that's come with it, I don't think you would shift that now. So we've got this Magician, and it's very much talking about the energy of manifestation, and we've got both of the manifestation cards out on the table for you right now. And we also have the Ace of Pentacles. Like, there is an opportunity here for you to really start to invest your attention somewhere. I mean, we can talk about the Ace of Pentacles in terms of like in a new house, sometimes new business. Usually you would like to see the Ace of Wands with that, right? Some way of improving your material circumstances in some way, right? But when you dig underneath it and you know, pay attention to the where attention goes, energy flows kind of energy of existence, and the Ace of Pentacles is that point where you realise you can start investing again. We're not in a state now of worrying about what we are losing or what we have lost, what we may lose, but rather getting more into that energy of creation and inspiration and what can I do? The answer with Magician is actually literally everything. It may not be instantaneous, but it's certainly available to you. And so if there has been a wary feeling that you've had about engaging too hard in any sphere of your life at all, I do think that you can relax about that. I do think that you can let that go. So what I see on the table here, it's actually incredibly positive, and even the Five of Pentacles is showing up as a really positive card here for you, but we'll get to that in a second. So we start with the Six of Wands. I love the Six of Wands. It's actually my birth card. It correlates with the decan of my birth. Anyway, it's Jupiter and Leo, right? So wherever we have Jupiter and Leo, there's that sense of expansion that comes from Jupiter, right? But with the Leo energy, which is your sister fire sign, we've got that we've got warmth returning, right? But we're talking about success and you know, sometimes visibility and all those kind of things. And in this instance, what it's talking about is, I think, the way that you have shifted around the notion of what success actually means to you. Now, it might have been to be completely in control of everything at one point in your life, certainly maybe it's a year ago, where it felt like everything was starting to fall apart. But I feel like you've got in touch with something much more nuanced over the course of this year. You know, as events have unfolded, and then you've kind of worked your way through those, and then some more events have unfolded and you worked your way through those. It's had this effect of shifting around not only the parameters of the reality that you exist in, right? We've definitely got a sense of that widening up. But in the widening up, we've also got very much more specific about what success looks like. So it might have been, I can control all of my environment and there's nothing that's going to sneak up on me and ambush me. Certainly in the last year, that will have been a consideration. But remember, that comes back to this idea of eradicating that which is vexing you from your life, rather than true happiness, right? True success, a feeling of being properly fulfilled. And it might be that you've realised that what you want actually is to be able to allow somebody else to take the reins every now and again. Not too often, but every now and again. And the implication of that is that there's a trust that's beginning to develop with the process. As you begin to understand that you haven't been punished for punishment's sake, as eviscerating as it may have felt at the time, but actually that something better is coming from it, whether it's a deeper understanding of yourself and the people around you. And it feels like you're much more grounded and you're much more settled, much more comfortable, perhaps, Aries, even being in your own skin. And we've got this Four of Wands here. Now, that Four of Wands is an Aries card, but it talks about the creation of a new foundation. And I think this is where your mind is turning now. It's like, well, actually, what do I want for the future? What represents happiness and joy to me? What are the, the feelings of safety that I've been looking for? Like, how can they be expressed in a way that honours the changes that have occurred in me in the last year? That ever-present card of the Four of Cups, speaking, right, like, frankly, just absolutely about abandonment issues, right? I'm not going to beat that drum too hard because we've gone into it quite a lot in previous readings. Like, the recognition of that changes everything, I think, because instead of coming at everything in a state of high anxiety, in a state of needing to control everything, because if you don't, there's some chance that you will be abandoned, and that might be, it might well have expressed itself in you getting in there first, you abandoning people first, before they have an opportunity to abandon you, right? There's lots of different ways in which it could play out. But I think that now that you are aware of it, you can hold it in balance. I'm not sure if these feelings ever get entirely eradicated, right? They're such a profound part of who we are because of the time of life when all this sort of stuff is instilled with us, right? It's kind of core issues. But we can certainly ameliorate them with our awareness of them, right? So we can catch ourselves before we react, before we do something that is much more knee-jerk than is wise. And we can introduce that little bit of space. And in the introducing of that space, it seems to me that the possibility of you creating a new foundation for yourself, where your kind of the new kind of success that you're interested in gaining for yourself is possible, is absolutely here. Now, in your present energy, this Five of Pentacles, I did say that I felt like it was kind of positive, and I felt that even before I pulled any clarifiers from it. Because if you recall, the meaning of the Five of Pentacles is not just poverty and lack and you not having all the things that you need. Sometimes it's a fear of those things too, right? Just as there's a fear of being abandoned where there isn't necessarily a basis in reality for that feeling. I think the kind of poverty that you've been concerned about, whether it was financial, and I know for some of you, like that material stability and the material instability and the material loss was a huge factor in what happened to you over the last year. I've heard stories of Aries losing their houses and all sorts of things. Is now becoming a point of reflection and consideration. Right? We're dealing with the fear rather than the reality, because for a lot of you, the reality actually hit last year. That thing that you were concerned about actually fucking happened. But here we are in July 2023, and you're still here. You've been through that situation, and it might not have been enjoyable, you might not want to do it again, but you have survived, and that counts for something. More than that, we've now got to a place where that hypervigilance and that baked into the core kind of survival mechanism that you've been working with so often, it is beginning to relax. It's like you can look at this properly for what it is. and say, I am afraid of these things, right? So, for example, back in 2021, with some fuckery from my ex-husband, I was facing homelessness. It's proper homelessness. And it was so weird because a few months before that, in that way that happens, like I got a bit of a heads up that this was going to be an issue moving forwards, because I suddenly became absolutely seized with this idea of owning my own home, right? As ridiculous as it sounds, if you're in the UK and you know what the housing market's like and you don't already, have a mortgage and all that kind of thing, I became completely seized with it. And then a few months later, all this stuff kicked off with my old place, and everything was so unstable. And I thought I had all the answers, So I was like, okay, well, this is happening. I'll do this. That door got slammed in my face, and I thought, oh, well, I'll do this, and that door got slammed in my face. And then before I knew it, I was like, none of the things that I had logically assumed would be a solution to this actually came out. And I spent an entire year, and it was almost exactly a year, getting more and more frightened about my stability, my security, the lack of control that I felt over my existence, right? Where was I going with this? There was a point to it. Give me a second, I'll try and retrieve it. Thank you. Yes. So it became glaringly obvious to me over the passing of time that this was not a resource issue. This was not I just haven't thrown enough shit at a wall and had any of it stick yet. That there was something intrinsically spiritual about the lesson that I was being given here, and that there needed to, I was absolutely certain that there was an originating point in here somewhere. The universe wasn't going to let me move on until I worked out what the fuck it was. And I actually sat with that for months and realised that the house was a symbol of something, that the house was a symbol of my safety, my security, my stability. And where I thought that I had just wanted to own my own house and that would be the thing and everything would be perfect after that, I ended up tracking it back to my relationship with my mother. Once I started to see that the house really was just a symbol of something, it wasn't the actual problem. What I wanted is to feel safe. What I wanted to feel was that I had control over my environment, over my stability and security, and that nobody else could interfere with that. It sort of changed the nature of the problem that I was dealing with. And it wasn't until the point where I accepted that that was exactly what the problem was, and that I trusted whatever the universe was trying to show me right now. I may not understand it, but I accept it, and I trust that it is taking me somewhere better, that things began to accelerate. And they got kind of a little bit close to the wire and a little bit scary at that point. But in one day, the whole situation spun on a sixpence, as we would say in the UK. And this is, I bring this up with you because this is the same kind of energy that I am seeing off these two cards here. Right? This ability that you have now developed to be able to bring it back to you and see what it is in your environment, or your response to something in your environment, or even a response to a particular kind of feeling that you have, that is the deciding factor on how shit plays out for you. Right? So what I'm not talking about, I want to underscore this 50 times, write it in angry, capitals. What I'm not saying is that you have to adopt a positive mindset and everything will be fine. I think that's a toxic as shit attitude, actually, to be honest. What I'm saying is we have to understand that whatever chaos exists outside of us has some sort of originating point inside of us. And until we work out what that is, we are almost compelled to keep reliving these same experiences over and over again. And I feel like you've broken that. You've broken it because you are aware of the things that you are frightened of. You are aware of the things that you fear losing. And having lost a number of those things and still being here, it's like the resilience has grown in the background without you even realising that it's happened. And quite frankly, your ability to create your own reality is something that now makes sense to you in a way that it did not before. You're not coming from a place of fear. I need to keep this like this. I need to hold that there, because if it moves, I'm worried it's going to be the end of me. And it's like, well, no, the universe has just shown you can absolutely get through all of that. And from here, the relationship with self, the new good relationship with yourself that you are developing, is what is acting as the signpost for where you can go and what you can do next. The Lover's card is a card of manifestation, but specifically it talks about conscious co-creation, right? We're talking about people getting into alignment with the energies and the direction of travel. Now, like I said, I don't know if it's possible to entirely eradicate difficult feelings that we have, right? Difficult responses, difficult mindsets. I think perhaps they always tickle along in the background. The difference is the amount of awareness that we exercise when those feelings come out, when that desire to engage in some sort of knee-jerk reaction comes up, and you can go, no, hang on, wait a minute. Am I overreacting? Am I about to go nuclear and it's not necessary? Am I fighting for the sake of fighting just so that I feel like I'm doing something? You know, there's a much more peaceful energy about you now than there ever has been in the whole time of reading for you, I would say. And that's, we're up to 4 years now. 4 years on YouTube. So, I like this. It's like, in light of who I am now, what do I actually want? What does success feel like? How can I start constructing a foundation that is going to allow me to build on top of that? Because the awareness of your fears is kind of like your ability to be able to hold the darkness, hold the shadow, right? And think about the Chariot card, right? Everything's got to be held in alignment. If you want the good stuff, you need to be able to hold the bad stuff consciously and work through it, right? Make friends with your shadow. All that sort of stuff. I love this. And then we come to what is coming towards you in July. Now, we're in Cancer season already, and the Queen of Cups is Cancer, so that's huge. But for me, the Queen of Cups, the underlying message of the Queen of Cups is one of receptivity. Water is receptive, queens are receptive too. And so what we've got here is receptivity squared, if you will, actually. It's about learning to accept, full stop, right? Now, we're not saying that you accept every shitty thing that gets thrown at you or that happens to you. It's quite different. I mean, the acceptance is of your past, of you. We also have these notions of forgiveness and compassion to self that are now starting to be exercised. But what I do feel like is that you're losing this need to fight everything for the sake of fighting it. It's like sometimes it is what it is, and that's okay. And it really does feel like sorry, there's a scene in the film Goldeneye. Is that not Goldeneye? No, the one that came after it. Oh shit, I've forgotten. Elliot. The baddie in it was called Elliot something or other anyway, and he was a big media mogul. And he would stand there typing on his keyboard furiously like this, right? And then there was a scene where there was this kind of submarine ship thing, and they flicked the button from peace to war, and it was really, really fun. They're just like, oh, we're in war mode now. And I always found that hysterically funny. And it became back a bit of a meme back before memes even existed between me and my friends. Flick the button from peace to war, you know. But I actually feel like what you've done is flicked it back the other way. Elliot Carver, there we go. I was in there somewhere. You flicked it from war to peace. Because I don't think that you've realised the extent to which you have been at war with the universe, with every situation that you've been in, with everybody that you've ever known, but more specifically, how much you have been at war with yourself. I think there have been problems of confidence and self-esteem, and I think what you've done has been able to push all of those away. My late husband, who's a Leo, he used to have a bit of a maxim, and he said the times when you are least sure is when you should be most confident. I thought, that's the most Leo thing I've ever heard in my fucking life, and for the most part it worked for him, to be honest. And I wonder if there's been a little bit of that with you, right? Those situations that have arisen that have made you feel unsure, right? That's where the subconscious coping mechanisms have kicked in, and you've gone like, right, fuck, I need to be most confident, most aggressive, most controlling, maybe. You know, like I have to do this because I have to maintain this status quo as it is. You stop being at war with yourself. It's quite simply that. Right? You're being a bit fucking nicer to yourself than you have been ever, probably. And that's so fundamental, not only to your growth, but to the position that you find yourself in now, where it is possible to create again. It's possible to start introducing the I am and the I will to your thinking, to your mindset. Look at this here. You know, we've got the Eight of Cups, and I think that's so... There's something so poetic and beautiful about it, but there's a sadness with it too that I feel here right now. And I don't think it's the sadness of leaving something behind. I think it's the recognition of how sad you have been for the longest time and not realised. What you're getting to leave behind now is the sadness, and it's because you're not fighting. You know, this constant onslaught that you have perceived, that you realise actually was originating from in here. You know, we've got that Strength card there, Leo, again, your sister fire sign. But it's a card that speaks to me about internal strength and personal development, personal growth. Like, you have grown exponentially in this last year in a way that you could not have done if everything had gone the way that you wanted it to. What needed to adapt and change was you, not the situations around you. And I think that now you've got to that point where you're holding everything much more lightly. It's like you can step down all of the defences, like all of the ones that were up there unnecessarily, at least. And this whole month feels like it's almost getting to know who you are now. Which is amazing, because there's this feeling of kind of like rediscovery of the world through a whole new set of eyes. I like it very much. But as I was saying right at the beginning there, about this, the nodes moving, whenever anything reaches its final degrees, there's a kind of critical energy about it, right? It's a super intense energy, and it's like, here's the point of completion, and you have to push through just a little bit, right? But the pushing through isn't in needing to fight harder or shout louder or control more. It's quite the reverse. It's something that would have been completely counterintuitive to you at one point, but now you're starting to see the wisdom in it. And when you're not fighting all the battles, you know, from all the angles all of the time, it means that you are retaining, my God, my gurgling stomach, you're retaining some energy so that you can focus yourself wholly on something that actually fills you with joy and happiness, like the things that you actually want to manifest, rather than be in a constant state of firefighting. You know, you're fighting all the battles on all the fronts all the time, and it's just you, Aries. Like, no wonder you've been fucking exhausted. It's as simple as that. Being kind to yourself, forgiving yourself, being compassionate to yourself feels like it's revealing a whole layer of existence that you haven't had a chance to connect with before. And it's a profound shift into a state of initiation, which, let's face it, Aries, is where you like to be. It's what you're built for. If there is any kind of residual fear about allowing yourself to hope, about allowing yourself to create, about allowing yourself to invest, actually, I would sit with that, because from my perspective, it does not feel like it's something that you need to worry about anymore, right? The being in the state of worrying about losing things is something that we can let go of now. Now, it's about the spark of initiation, and I'm here for it. You've done it, Aries. You weathered the storm, and you did it in a way that's really quite inspiring. And I think that you should certainly hold on to that. Give yourself an opportunity to check in with that feeling every now and again. Right, I'm going to go over to Vimeo now. And so if you would like to join me over there, you're very, very welcome to do so. You can, of course, also join me on Circle, and you'll be able to see all of the extendeds then for the same cost. So, if you would like to do that, that's cool. If you don't, then that's also fine. Relax. You're allowed to relax. You can relax, and you can start thinking about where you go from here, right? What your success looks like and how you're going to start actioning that with what you now know. All right, I'll leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I am so proud of you, Aries. I really am. Take care, and I'll see you soon.